a dream called home. Every morning, before the sun even rose above the skyline of the city, Emma and Michael woke up at 6 o'clock sharp. The alarm rang, breaking the silence of their small rented apartment, and the two of them began another day in their steady rhythm of work and life. Their home was modest, a one-bedroom apartment on the 5th floor of a tall, gray building. The kitchen was narrow, just wide enough for two people to move around without bumping into each other. The walls carried faint marks of time, and the windows opened to a view of more buildings stacked tightly together. Yet, in that little space, they had built a life together. Each morning, after brushing their teeth and washing up, Emma prepared breakfast, usually something simple like toast, eggs, or oatmeal. Michael brewed coffee, its warm smell filling the room and giving them energy for the day. They sat together at the small table by the window, enjoying their meal quietly, sometimes exchanging small smiles or tired glances. Breakfast was always quick, because there was more to do. Afterward, Emma packed their lunches into containers, sandwiches, rice with vegetables, or sometimes leftovers from the night before. Michael gathered the files and laptop he would need for work. At exactly 7 o'clock, they locked the door and left the apartment, joining the river of commuters flowing through the streets. By 8 o'clock, they were at their respective offices, seated in front of glowing screens, ready for another day of tasks, meetings, and deadlines. The city was alive with energy. Skyscrapers reflected the morning light. Buses and trains were crowded, and sidewalks overflowed with hurried footsteps. For Emma and Michael, the rhythm was no longer new. They had been living this way for 5 years. But deep inside, a quiet longing always followed them. Both of them worked hard. Emma was an administrative officer in a medium-sized company, handling paperwork, schedules, and countless phone calls. Her days were filled with typing, printing, and organizing. Michael worked in finance, balancing spreadsheets, attending meetings, and trying to keep up with endless reports. Though their jobs were stable, neither of them paid enough to meet their bigger dreams. When the clock struck 7 in the evening, Emma and Michael finally left their offices. Tired but relieved, they walked or sometimes took the bus back to their rented apartment, reaching home just as the sky turned dark. Their evenings were always the same, cooking dinner together, sharing stories of the day, cleaning up, and then sitting side by side, either reading or planning the future. Their future was where their thoughts always wandered. They dreamed of owning a house, not a big one, not luxurious, but simply a place they could truly call theirs. A small home with 2 bedrooms, a kitchen with enough space to cook without bumping into each other. Maybe even a little balcony where they could place potted plants. A place where, one day, they could raise children and build a family. Yet, the dream always felt distant. The prices of houses in the city climbed higher each year, faster than their salaries could follow. Every month, they saved as much as possible, cutting down on unnecessary expenses. They avoided eating out, chose public transport instead of taxis, and rarely bought new clothes unless absolutely needed. After 5 years of working and saving, they had managed to put aside a decent amount. But whenever they checked the housing market, their savings still looked small compared to the enormous numbers on the listings. This reality often weighed on them. Late at night, lying in bed, Emma sometimes stared at the ceiling, wondering when they would ever be able to afford their own home. Michael, too, carried the same worry, calculating in his mind how many more years it would take, how much more they would need to save, and whether prices would rise again before they could reach their goal. Despite the burden, they did not lose hope. They knew many young couples like themselves faced the same struggle. The city was full of people chasing dreams, working long hours, and trying to build stability. Some managed to succeed, others gave up and returned to smaller towns. But Emma and Michael were determined to stay. The city was where their careers were, where opportunities lived, and where they wanted to build their future. Weekends gave them a small break from the routine. On Saturdays, they often went to the market together, buying fresh vegetables and groceries for the week. On Sundays, they cleaned their apartment, cooked a larger meal, and sometimes visited friends or walked in the park. Even on these days, conversations about houses returned. They would sometimes scroll through websites, looking at pictures of homes for sale, calculating prices, and dreaming about which one could be theirs someday. Time passed, and the weight of their responsibilities became part of their identity. They were no longer just newlyweds, they were partners in a long journey, supporting each other through every challenge. Though the road ahead seemed long, their bond gave them strength. Each day they shared, the morning breakfasts, the evening dinners, the small savings tucked away, was a step toward the dream they held together. In their small rented apartment, Emma and Michael carried the hope of a future that was not yet visible. The dream of owning a home was more than just about bricks and walls, it was about stability, independence, and building a foundation for the life they wanted. It was about creating a place of belonging in a city that often felt too fast, too expensive, and too demanding. They knew it would not be easy. Perhaps it would take another 5 years, maybe 10, but as long as they continued side by side, waking at 6 each morning, working hard, saving every bit they could, they believed that one day, they would unlock the door to a home of their own. For now, the rented apartment was their shelter, their nest in the midst of the bustling city. It was not perfect, but it was filled with love, resilience, and shared dreams. And in the quiet of each night, when the city outside was loud and restless, Emma and Michael lay close, whispering to themselves a silent promise that no matter how long it took, they would keep moving forward, together, toward the dream called home.